Everybody's replaceable. The doctor, me as the owner and founder of this company, we're all replaceable. But in today's climate, people are not as attached as you think they are. But still recognize it. She's not here anymore. I know, we miss her too.
Welcome to the Path to Owning It podcast by Provide, hosted by me, Corey Brown, a marketing leader at Provide with over a decade in supporting small businesses. Whether you're an aspiring or established founder, here you'll find tools and advice to start building your legacy and take your business to new heights. To help you achieve your entrepreneurial ambitions, each month we'll tap into our unparalleled network of industry experts who will join us on our quest to provide the answers to your most pressing questions. Like what you hear? Follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you listen. Today, I'd like to welcome Paul Edwards to the show. Paul is the founder and CEO of CEDR HR Solutions. That's CEDR, which offers an all-in-one people problem HR solution for dental, medical, and wellness industries. Paul has over 25 years of experience in the HR sector, hosts the podcast What the Hell Just Happened, and also founded Backstage HR, software designed for healthcare teams. Paul, welcome to our show. We're thrilled to have you with us today.
I'm excited. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, in small businesses, we often talk about staffing and the issues that business owners are facing right now. Mm-hmm. And so today we thought we'd kind of narrow in on that and talk more about what happens when you lose really like your best or your key employee. And with your background, I think you're the perfect person to discuss this topic with. So I'd like to get just right into it with you, if you don't mind.
Yeah. And I do want to preface this with, I've built a team of some amazing HR professionals. So our model is to support our practices with what we call the Solution Center. So we have this team of experts who get the kinds of questions I think you're going to be asking me today.
Yeah.
And so I always like to give them credit because, you know, I've got answers, but they're in the trenches every day. They answer about 10,000 questions from our 3,000 members every year. What you're talking about here today comes in a lot. This pain point for small businesses in general is, you know, this is a frequent occurrence and there is a way to get through it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So your advice then, when a key employee leaves unexpectedly, what are some of the first steps a small business owner should take to really like assess the immediate impact that has on their operations?
Well, you know, I think the obvious thing is who's going to do this now? Like if it's your office manager, it's one thing. If it's the person who's answering your phones, that's another thing. If you're in healthcare, if it's your insurance person, it's like, who's going to be running insurance daily and communicating with the patients? So I think there's those logistical concerns. So you're going to have to figure something out. I think something else that I'd like to give to everybody today is you kind of have to ask yourself the question, how long can this stay open? Because sometimes, like if it's a well, every role in a small business is critical, right, Corey?
Right.
So maybe that's not the best way to put it. If it's an office manager, I want you to take more time because you can function for a while without like your practice administrator or your office manager. If it's your front desk person and the phones are ringing, somebody's going to get up there and answer the phone. So I think, you know, logistically, you kind of have to think about that. Who could fill in? What could we do in order to deal with this? But past those logistical questions about the immediate impact, the first thing that we recommend is that you start to think about filling the position. And I think maybe people listening are like, duh, of course I'm going to try and fill the position. But thinking about it in a different way than maybe you've been doing it in the past is the point that I'd like to make.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll get into that in a little bit too. Curious what some common mistakes you've seen business owners make in the past when this sort of thing has happened to them.
Well, the first one is something that's memorialized in writing as the Peter Principle. This was actually kind of a joke article that was put out by someone, I think it was like 30 years ago. And much to his surprise, everybody took it seriously. The basic of the Peter Principle is that you take someone who is perfectly good at what they're doing and you promote them into incompetency. The example that they gave, you take your best salesperson and you say, well, he or she should be able to run the entire sales team. And what they don't have is people skills for managing other people. They have sales skills. They're really good at sales, but they don't have any of the other necessary things. And so we see the Peter Principle happen a lot in small business, particularly in healthcare. You're like, you've got this rock star at the front desk. And you think, well, she'll be good at managing people. And again, she has none of those skills that are needed. And you think in the back of your head, well, she's so good at learning things, she'll learn these other skills too. There's just a lot missing in that thinking. It's the potential for it not to work for you in a big way is high. And Corey, the worst thing you can do is take someone who's amazing, give them more money, promote them into a position, and then realize that they can't be in that position, and then try to reverse engineer what you just put in place. So what ends up happening is you lose your great person that you promoted, you lose that position, and you have to let her go because she can't manage other people. She can't hire, can't manage. It's just a terrible thing to have happen. Well, that's one thing. The other one I want you to think about is, should the role and the position remain the same? This is a chance for a reset. We just want to fill the role and we're all shorthanded. And oftentimes the owner's involved in hiring and they don't even have time for that. And so you don't take the time to really take it's a cliche, 10,000 foot view of the position, the role. You might have an opportunity here, especially if it's a leadership role, to look out at your goals and your plans going forward. Maybe you're buying another practice. Maybe you're growing your business into 2 locations or 3 locations. That's a whole nother set of needs for the business. So every time you have something traumatic like this happen, it's an opportunity to kind of look forward and see what your needs are and kind of re-examine the role.
Yeah, no, that's a great point too. I'm curious if you think that conducting thorough exit interviews would be part of this process as well to help improve these kind of underlying issues that may be there to help with future hires. Your thoughts on that?
Okay. So I have, in the HR world, we need to recognize something. If you are a company that has its own HR department, and then within that HR department, you have someone with a specialized set of skills who are disconnected from the operations and what's going on inside of the business, who then know how to run an exit interview and sit down with someone and get meaningful information out of it, then by all means, exit interviews are very, very important. And it's kind of this principle of, now that you are no longer working here and you are free to speak freely, what would you like to tell us? And you can get great news from them. Love the place. Sorry I had to leave. It was a better paying job, all that thing. Love my manager, all this thing. And you can get some other things that you really, need to know. And that is the purpose of an exit interview. So an exit interview serves 2 purposes, primarily. One is to get the employee's story down, get it recorded. And I'd like it in their own words. I don't mean recorded like set up microphones and record what they say. I just mean get them on record as to why they're leaving. That's the first thing. And then the other thing is hopefully if something untowards is going on, they will tell you. And I could give you an example. I can give you a great example of that. We had a dental practice and we had an employee just kind of come in out of left field and resign. This dental practice had 3 locations. I think they had about 22 employees, associate doctors and the owner doctor in one location, and then associates in the other 2 locations. Very, very successful practice. Well thought of, kind of surprised them. She came in and just offered her resignation. She didn't show up at work. She did send in an email and just resigned. We use the other method for exit interview, so I'll just telegraph that. In small business, it's a form. It's a very well-written, intentional form. You give it to them as part of their final paycheck, their final papers. You give it to them with a self-addressed stamped envelope. And you say, if you'd like to fill this out, I would really appreciate getting this back from you. That's the way small business does exit interviews. Because if you're not disconnected and you sit down with someone and they start to tell you how bad your business sucks or how bad you are at what you do, it turns into something else. It's not an exit interview where they can speak freely. So in this instance, exit interview went to her. We flagged it. We said, this is weird. And we never like it when someone just quits when we can't see why. She returned the exit interview and informed them that the associate in her location was sexually harassing her and other people. When we looked into a little bit further, the reason why she didn't report it was because, and drum roll, the associate doctor was a son-in-law. They had been there for a while and they made a big deal out of opening the office for him. It's a family thing. I mean, all of that is, something that happens. And, I'm just going to cut to the chase. So he's a creep, terrible human being, doing terrible things, making comments because he thought he was the boss or whatever he could do. And in the end, again, not going to go into all the details, we encouraged them and they did fire him over it. And this is the important part, because of the exit interview, very quickly, we were able to help them investigate. They made their determination. We immediately offered her job back to her, told her what was going on, said, could you please hold on for a second here? Thank you for giving us this piece of information. When they let him go, they told her, asked her if she would like to come back. She did not want to come back. She had found another job in the meanwhile because she was a great employee.
Sure.
She didn't want to come back. But here's the thing. They didn't catch a lawsuit over this because they did all of the things that you need to do in order to not catch a lawsuit over this. They offered her job back. They investigated quickly. Once they determined that the issue was going on, they terminated. And then they protected themselves from all of the other employees who could have possibly filed lawsuits against them to a great degree. So exit interviews. That's my story.
That's an incredible story. I guess my question then goes to what about businesses that are just starting out that may not have resources to outsource HR and have to try and do this sort of thing themselves? Do you recommend they just don't do an exit interview because they won't get the information that you want? Or is there another alternative?
I got to be careful about giving it like this overbroad guidance. I think there are affordable solutions where you need to engage with somebody and outsource your HR pretty quickly. And I know that sounds self-serving, but I'm just going to say this. We work with people that have 2 employees and we work with startups all the time. And there's a lot of really good reasons to get your HR going. Because, your people are your people. They're your path to success. The sooner you learn how to hire better, the sooner you learn how to engage with your team, hold them accountable, hold yourself accountable, build a set of legal rules that comply. The sooner you learn all of these things, the better off you're going to be in the long run. So putting it off because you can't afford it almost costs you more, I think.
Let's shift gears a little bit. So let's assume this employee has decided they're leaving. There's nothing we can do about it. What's the best way, in your opinion, to communicate that departure to the remaining employees in the business to maintain morale and clarity?
Let's use both examples. The employees decided to leave, or the employee didn't want to leave, but we decided that the employee is leaving, okay? So let's use the latter one first. There's not much to discuss. You don't want to pretend like it didn't happen. You want to come to people in the morning and say, look, Beth is no longer working here. I just want to say we wish her well. I also want to say that just like we would pay respect for you, as you'll see here, I want you all to model this. This is not open for discussion. We are not going to sit here and discuss this over and over and over again. Beth has moved on, and I don't really have that much to share with you. If someone here has some concerns or you have something else you'd like to share with me, just let me know, and we'll meet in my office and we'll talk about it in private. And then what you want to not do is you don't want to participate in any of this stuff. So when you hear it, you want to say something. And, it's not like we can't say Beth was great and we miss her. Of course, people can do that sort of thing. But if they're gathered around and they're doing the gossiping thing and they're running Beth in the ground, even though you might agree with them and want to run Beth in the ground too, we're human, right? We're all human. You just want to nip it in the bud. There is nothing productive to come of this. Now, Corey, I want to qualify this. In private, I think it's important to talk about with management behind closed doors where Beth failed. Because that's probably where you failed as the listener, owner, manager, because you didn't ask the right questions during the interview. You didn't test the right skills. You're going to identify some areas where you didn't do a great job and didn't set Beth up to win. So you got to talk about it a little bit. Not in front of everybody, though.
Yeah. As someone who's worked in a small dental practice previously for over a decade, that rumor mill is a very strong thing, right?
If you talk smack, everybody else is going to assume you're going to do it about them. It just creates this not great atmosphere.
Yeah, absolutely. So on the flip side of that, I think it's also important for us to address how we should, as business owners, approach informing our customers about this change without disrupting any sort of trust or loyalty. Because, they build relationships with your patients, your customers, strong ones, especially if they've been there a long time. So what do we do there?
I'm just going to say it. First of all, I'm a battle-hardened HR person who has owned multiple businesses, who have had 60 employees, and said to myself, I'll never do that again. And of course, here I am many years later, and I've got 40 employees, and I'm handling the problems of 46,000 employees. Everybody's replaceable. Nothing. I don't have anything to say. Look, if they're like, where's Becky? Where did she go? The answer is she's had an opportunity and she's gone on, but we have hired Mary and we think she's going to work great with you. I picked her for you is the kind of thing we do there. We just don't recommend that you spend a whole lot of time on that.
Okay.
Yeah. Everybody's replaceable. everybody listening, the doctor, me as the owner and founder of this company, we're all replaceable. I don't want to sound callous, but you just need to move on. The people are not as attached as you think they are.
Yeah, that's a great point.
To you or them.
Yeah, right. I would second that too. In my experience, there's been times where we've overthought that this is going to be detrimental, came up with this procedure to, script people at the front desk, and then it was just not as big of a deal as we thought it was going to be.
People don't mind, and they understand people move on in this day and age, especially in this day and age. Maybe if you've asked me this question 25 years ago, I might have given you a different answer. But in today's climate, people expect folks to not be there all the time when they're there, but still recognize it. She's not here anymore. I know, we miss her too.
Yeah, that's a great point. Let's take Mary as this example, who's the replacement you were saying. What are some effective steps that we can take in onboarding or training Mary as the replacement to ensure a smooth transition?
Okay, so Mary's coming in, and we've done a lot of work to get Mary in, and she's passed with flying colors, and now we need to keep Mary. First piece of news everybody out there needs to know as a small business, the onboarding process is a year long. It is not a month. It is not 2 weeks. It is not 3 months at the end of their getting acquainted period. It goes on for a full year. If you take that attitude and you have a little bit of structure behind that, that is going to get you the very best results that you can get. And what this means is that in the beginning, it's intense, right? There's new systems to use, computers. There's where do you park? There's this is how we lock this place up. There's this is, all these things. This is how we stagger lunch. There is a lot to onboarding there. Put an easel or a whiteboard up, or even a piece of big white note paper on the wall and say, welcome, Mary. It's Mary's first day. Put something on the wall and you've already made a huge leap, because many times Mary walks into a new job and the front desk person says, who are you? You're not a patient here, are you? And it's like, no, I start work here. And the front desk person looks at him like, well, that's news to me. So first thing is, in an onboarding, we're not going to go through the whole onboarding process. Just make sure everybody knows Mary's coming. And then when Mary gets there, welcome her and then have her workstation set up. Not we're getting to it. We couldn't get to it. We're going to sit you over here in the corner. We onboarded in our early days, we onboarded a new attorney, and she had to sit at the break table in a room with the marketing team. And we told her that is what was going to happen. And we said, and that's going to last exactly 8 days. And then on the 9th day, your phone will be in and, we have a space for you.
So let them know what to expect.
Let them know what to expect and have a onboarding process that goes through not just the first month, but it goes through and sets you up to ask specific questions and to assess the employee and to check in, because you want to be giving feedback in both directions. You want to get feedback from them. How are you doing? Tell me, you got to be struggling somewhere. Think about it for a second. What are you having trouble with? Let me get that stuff out of the way. And then at about the 90-day mark, now you need to know next Tuesday, Mary's hit her 90 days and we have a 90-day getting acquainted period. Now, some things are going to kick in, like health insurance if she wants it. And you have to do that by law if you have health insurance, if you offer it.
Sure.
And so you're going to want to have a little mini recognition at the 90-day thing. Truth is, Corey, they were in the same status from day one as they are on the very last day they worked. The 90-day thing doesn't mean squat. It's a setup to let them know that they're a little bit under a magnifying glass, that you're under in a magnifying glass. And it's a way to kind of set a reason to meet and say, how are we doing? How you feeling about going forward? And then regular check-ins over the weeks and months going forward. Don't get comfortable. Don't get comfortable until they've gotten through that first year. We have lots and lots of statistics out there that say that if you don't have a structured onboarding thing, you're not constantly checking in, you tend to lose them at a much, much higher rate at the 6th to 7th month period. They don't make it to the year. Once you get them past the year, then you just need to have good check-ins with everybody, but you're probably going to get to hold on to them for a little bit longer.
Okay. Well, thanks for setting that expectation. I think that's a really good point to keep in mind. Now shifting gears a bit, what happens when a departing employee leaves a negative review online? Up next, we'll explore effective strategies to respond professionally and safeguard your business's reputation. More with Paul right after this short message. Are you fresh out of school with big dreams and ambition to achieve them? Or is your current business bursting at the seams and it's time to expand your legacy? If you tend to challenge the status quo and shoot for the moon, Provide's SBA loan may be for you. Our dedicated team of small business experts will work with you to make your ownership dreams, no matter how big, a reality. To get started, visit getprovide.com to see how our tech-enabled small business financing and banking can work for you. Again, that's getprovide.com for when your aspirations of business ownership exceed traditional limits. I'm Corey Brown, and this is Provide's The Path to Owning It podcast. We're back with Paul Edwards, founder and CEO of CEDR HR Solutions, to discuss how to protect yourself and your business after the loss of a key employee and ways to prevent this from happening again. You know, Paul, in the first half, we were talking a lot of examples about how you've experienced this with business owners in the past. I'm curious, in cases where a departing employee has left negative reviews on public platforms like Glassdoor, how do you recommend businesses respond to protect or redeem their reputation?
I think that, in my opinion, Glassdoor carries very little weight. They don't verify. You don't see many positive things on it about a company. Only the people that come to post negative stuff. I think employees who are shopping for a job know that. And so I recommend that you do nothing about Glassdoor. Now, you need to be prepared if someone asks you in an interview about those negative reviews that are on Glassdoor.
Sure.
It just basically says this: we have no way of verifying that. On a couple of those negative reviews, we know that they were just put up there because they were helping someone else out. We have no idea who those people are, what those situations are. If you have any specific concerns, me as the manager, I'm happy to answer them. I'm going to be truthful. I don't want you to leave and find that something's different. You can talk to other employees here if you have some kind of concern. We just want you to know that that's available to you.
Yeah. Now, I know you mentioned previously you're not a lawyer, so just knowing that, but are there specific legal considerations or confidentiality issues that business owners should be aware of when an employee departs?
You remember I talked about the exit interview and the package that gets to them? Well, in the termination letter, we remind them again of their obligation in the case of healthcare that they have to keep things confidential. Now, look, if somebody's put a name of a patient up there or something on social media, even if they don't work for you, you need to go to the lawyer. They're going to be able to get that taken down really quickly and send a nastygram to the employee. So you need to maintain confidentiality, but you need to understand where the limits are around confidentiality and what you can limit people from saying or talking about afterwards, which is not a lot, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned this a little bit with onboarding, but outside of that, what proactive strategies can small businesses implement to reduce the risk of losing this critical employee in the first place?
Great question. I want to introduce this. It's not new. Pay scales. Small businesses should be thinking about pay scales. So what is in your market? What is the entry level and the most that someone's being paid to do the job of the people who are working for you? And you need that piece of information so that you can rehire and so that you can be in a competitive market. And that's not just how much they're being paid, but what are the other benefits that are valued within your market? You know, you're always going to look at things like flexible scheduling. If it's available, it's not always available. Health insurance, how much of that you pay, you know, all of these other benefits to it. But that's the first thing, is pay attention to what's going on in the market so that your employee doesn't simply leave you for more money and go do the same thing for someone else. Because trust me, it's going to cost you way more to replace them than it is to give them $3 or $4 more dollars. And so if you recognize where they are in their career and what they're doing and they're building and they're getting better and better, then you need to be building towards the top of your pay scale with them as well. It's not a 3%. Maybe after a couple of years, you recognize, wow, you got good at hiring. We didn't have good hiring. We're going to raise you up $5,000 a year because we're growing and we're hiring. We need to hold on to those skills. So I think that's one of the first things that you can do. Holding on to people, I think especially, I don't like to give generational stuff, like different generations act different. I think that stuff is just a bunch of BS. The more I think it, the more I'm like, oh God, I'm getting old. But I do want to say that I think for people who are younger than 50 now, feedback is important. Letting people know how they're doing, regular one-on-ones, which is hard on a small business, but regular one-on-ones, structured, not complaint sessions. That's not what those are for. Those are not corrective sessions, but regular one-on-ones where you can just spend 8, 10, 15, 20 minutes with a human being that works with you on a regular basis. I think a sense of purpose, this goes into cultural planning, which a lot of small businesses don't know that they need to be doing. but helping them to see and understand where they fit into what it is your purpose is in this business or what your future plans are. I really appreciate you saving that patient the other day. You did a fantastic job with them, and then tell them why, what impact it had. And then occasionally you tell everybody, you stop everybody in the room and go, "Hey, Jennifer, that was a really good thing you did the other day. I know she was hard, but you did exactly what we had hoped you would do. And she got a better outcome. We got a better outcome."
Yeah. Out of those three you just mentioned, I'm just curious, like pay, purpose, feedback. What out of all the exit interviews and, things that you've seen, what's the reason most people quit?
They hate the manager.
Simple as that, huh?
It's as simple as that. You just think about it. It doesn't matter what your business is. I leave your business because of your employees. It's not usually the doctor or someone like that. It's more likely you have somebody at the front desk who shouldn't be there, or maybe shouldn't be there today. Maybe today was not the best day for them to be there. And I leave the way you run your business. It's tough to deal with the employees, and I can't do it anymore. That's why people leave.
Okay. Good to know. I guess finally, taking everything we talked about today in consideration, what's your number one piece of advice for business owners to turn this challenge of losing their best employee into an opportunity for growth and improvement?
We have something called the difference maker exercise. Corey, what you do is you take the best attributes of the employee, both skills wise and cultural wise, and you list those. And then on the other side, remember I said behind closed doors, you do an analysis and you list the other things that were maybe not that great. And then you build behavioral interview questions and skills testing around those things, because what you want to try and do is keep the best of the person that left, whether they left against their will or they left, wanting to go. You want to keep the best if you can, and you want to improve upon it. So every time someone leaves is an opportunity to not just look at the pay scale and all the other stuff for them, but to do something for you, which is look forward. If you're planning on growing and you're going to need a lot of hiring, and the person who just left as a manager, it was not good at hiring people, then you know that you've got a skill there that you've got to figure out how to place to add to it. So once you learn to do this difference maker thing, which is just 2 columns, and then what you do is you turn that frown, which is the list of the bad things, upside down. I love saying this. You turn it upside down and you make those things that you are searching for in a positive way. You're looking for questions. You don't say, "You're not late all the time, are you?" You say, "How do you feel about being punctual? Can you give me a time when someone really frustrated you by being late?" Those are behavioral interview questions, because someone can always answer things yes or no, or "Yeah, I'm always on time. I love being on time." But now I've given them a behavioral interview question, and I'm going to get a lot from that. I'm going to see how articulate they are. I can see how imaginative they are to answer the question. This is a great way to add another percent or two to your 50% chance of finding the right person when you hire.
Is that true? 50% chance?
It is. It's about 50% no matter what you do. So you're grabbing for extra in the margins by putting the extra work in place.
Okay.
But the benefits of it, that extra 2% is the difference between finding a difference maker and getting, what you need going forward. And look, I keep talking about managers, but this works for everybody in your business, whether it's a frontline, somebody on the phones, it's somebody doing service calls and driving out and taking care of people in their homes, or it's in healthcare or whatever it is. Every single position should be treated this way. Stop. Look at the job description, make sure that it aligns. Okay. Just go back and look at the darn job description, because people grow and jobs and needs change. Then from that, you can build a good job ad. That's where it should start from. First, the job description. I want it in place to protect you. Then I want you to write a good job ad. And then you can craft your questions from your difference maker tool and from the skills that are critical and for your purpose and your culture and what you have planned for the future.
Yeah. That's a great point. And thank you. If our listeners today would like to learn more about difference makers and everything else that CEDR has to offer with HR resources and support, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
They would just go to our website, CEDR, there is no A in it, CEDR Solutions with an S on the end, .com. Sign up for the education, guys. Just sign up. Don't worry. We are not going to attack you with a bunch of sales calls or anything. Just sign up and get in the education track. And we send out 3 great roundup questions with answers every other week. We have a great newsletter. We send out the Difference Maker Toolkit all the time. It's just a reminder, this is an exercise that you can use. All kinds of resources and stuff on our website. We like to engage with our community. We've built it up to over 25,000 people. We have 10,000 people in our HR Basecamp Facebook group. If you're a manager or an owner, you can get in that if you're on Facebook still. Those are all ways that you can engage with us.
Well, Paul, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today. You're a wealth of knowledge in this topic, and I just appreciate you taking the time to have our chat with us.
I really appreciate you having me on again. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. The path to owning a business is a nuanced journey. We hope you discovered something in this episode that eases your path to success. If so, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Have a topic you'd like discussed in a future episode? Drop us a line in the comments section or send us a message on social media. If you're ready to take control of your future and start building your legacy, be sure to visit getprovide.com. You can view our resources page for more helpful tools. Learn how our all-in-one financial and banking products can help you on your path to business ownership, and pre-qualify for financing in under 2 minutes with no impact on your credit score. The Path to Owning It is brought to you by the team at Provide, and it's produced by PodCamp Media, branded podcast production for businesses. podcampmedia.com. Producer Dusty Weiss, editor Emily Kasinger. For Provide, I'm Corey Brown. Thanks for being on the journey with us.
Provide is a division of Fifth Third Bank, National Association. All opinions expressed by the participants are solely their current opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Provide, its affiliates, or Fifth Third Bank. The participants' opinions are based on information they consider reliable, but neither Provide, its affiliates, nor Fifth Third Bank warrant its completeness or accuracy and should not be relied upon as such. This content is for informational purposes and does not constitute the rendering of legal, accounting, tax, or investment advice or other professional services by Provide or any of its affiliates. Please consult with appropriate professionals related to your individual circumstances. All lending is subject to review and approval.